My social media platforms manager, Mr. Z. Roger, he's in Lagos, Nigeria. Here's what he writes. African form of education is to enslave them the more. We are not trained to be self-employed. We are trained to be dependent, not independent. We need more entrepreneurs in Africa. Here is the basic question I draw from what he asked. With the education that almost every African country, citizens of every African country have, how do you expect them to just move from that kind of education where they're trained to work for somebody and not trained to be entrepreneur to just become entrepreneurs?
Good question, and thanks.
That isn't that sounding like trying to squeeze water from a rock?
Thank you. Good question. This is the point here, and I would like to be as frank as I can get, because this is a conversation. It's not like I don't have all the repository of answers to all of this, but I can also speak from my experience as other complement, as I can see in the chat here. This is my point. Education is not just classroom education. I think this is where we missed the point. It's not that four-corner classroom that we spend 7 years primary school, 5 years secondary, 2 years high school, 3 years university, and then we get to do a master's or a PhD. That's not just education. When we are 2 years old and our parents start to blame our uncles that they are rich and they're not helping us, without telling us that you need to grow up, study hard to solve that problem of maize harvest losses that are happening in our village, of crop failure that is happening, to develop a skill to come back and design structures that are not like the ones that are building. That's not what we hear. We hear that our uncle is wicked, that brother or sister is not helping us. Then entrenching an entitlement mentality, what I call the dependency syndrome. And as a result of that, the kid grows up. Even before he gets to primary school, he already knows that someone has to do something for him by right. That entitlement mentality is entrenched right from the home. The second dangerous one is now the education in which we get into now, the formal education, which then tells us that when you graduate with a certificate, you are entitled to a job, without being taught to focus on the problems and devise solutions. And that is because the education system in Africa is not indigenized. It is an external offshoot of so many things that happen, and we're not going to change that in a day. The best education is not only in schools, it's also what in our individual capacity we can do using platforms like Chat Africa Night to say a certificate bequeaths each and everyone to provide solutions, to devise solutions to challenges. And if you would do a certificate, you cannot be able to ensure that you are using it to devise a solution to touch a mother's life in the village, then it's just as good as it can get. And that success is not about going to the top. Success is about lifting others from the bottom of the pyramid. So education is not just the classroom, but it's also our engagement in society. When we start to appreciate people, when we start to be collective in our actions, not individualistic, when we start to be selfless in our actions, not selfish. That's education that Africa needs today. So to change education, the classical primary, secondary that we see every day, it's going not just to be about talk. It's going to be us who start now to engage even those with education and certificates to show that they can tap 150 billion in the agro value chain that is going on top in the continent. They can tap 20 billion, which is a charcoal industry, by devising solutions, using waste to make briquettes, to make burgers, to make fertilizers, and they will be billionaires. Then they will start to see, oh, this is a different kind of thing that we can start doing, and they will start even to open academies. It must not only be governments to open academies. Governments everywhere they are not the repository for solutions for everything. It is us the people. So what's my point in simplicity is that the mindset of entitlement, that we must blame everyone for our problem, is what is holding us where we are. Will things change overnight? No. But can we start? Yes.
That is thought-provoking. You know, when I told people that when you come, there'll be fireworks on the platform, people thought I just was shocking.